Well, George Floyd's death put a spotlight on how police restrain and subdue suspects, especially by using a chokehold around the neck. And one of those chokeholds is called the Applied Carotid Triangle Restraint, or ACTR.
Monday, Miami-Dade's police director included an explanation of that technique in a public memo. By Thursday, he had suspended its use. Director Freddy Ramirez now with us live from police headquarters in Doral via Skype. Good morning, Director. Great to have you with us today.
Good morning, Glenna. Good morning, Michael.
Hey, Director. Great to see you.
Can we start with the Applied Carotid Triangle Restraint? I know there are police departments, including yours, who took issue with calling it a chokehold, that it wasn't really a chokehold. In the vernacular, that's what it looks like. So let's start with explaining this now banned technique. How is it different from a chokehold?
Well, the Miami-Dade Police Department has never trained for chokeholds. We trained for the ACTR, which is where you encircle the neck and you apply pressure on the carotid arteries, not obstructing the airway, to subdue, a violent person or someone who's resisting with violence. Just to put it in perspective, last year in 2019, we had 624,000 calls for service. Approximately 285 of them resulted in a use of force, and we applied that technique 20 times. So upon reviewing that with my team, listening to the community, seeing how valuable that technique was at a lower level in the use of force spectrum, I decided that it was time to move it up, to take it off our policy. But I want to make it clear, though, if my officers, if the men and women of the Miami-Dade Police Department are fighting for their lives in a moment of heated struggle, they're going to do what they have to do to go home to their families. And I expect nothing less than that from them. Yeah. We will not use it as a de-escalation technique, but if my officers are fighting for their lives, I expect them to do what they have to do to go home.
Director Ramirez, as you well know, a lot of the demonstrators we've seen on the streets in South Florida, across the country, are saying defund the police. Just a minute ago, you heard Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart essentially say that's a ridiculous demand. It simply is not going to happen. But there are people within your profession who say, yes, maybe we are doing things, we're acting as social workers or psychologists. Maybe others can't do that work instead of a police officer. But what is your response, Freddie?
I think that's completely, my personal opinion, completely irresponsible. There are communities in Dade County that depend on the police to keep them safe. Okay? We're on the front lines every day providing services. Yes, we do CIT. We deal with the mentally ill. We deal with people who are homeless. We deal with people who are suffering from domestic violence, human trafficking, murders, keeping the streets safe from anarchy. What you need is more police out there. We need more training, of course, more transparency, working together. But the police in the community, especially here in Miami-Dade, have a great relationship, especially thanks to the Community Relations Board, Shirley Plankton, who helps with my police officer to bridge communication so that we know we're policing correctly and strategically.
Director,
we're one of the... Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. I thought you were done. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
We're one of the most progressive police departments in the country, so much so that during the Obama administration, they came and provided us an award for the type of community policing we've done. We've put the work in this community to build the trust. And it's just, I think it's tragic that the actions of a few around the country affects this community, our law enforcement community, and paints us all with one brush, because that is not the case. Yes, do we make mistakes? Absolutely. And we hold ourselves accountable, and we always work hard to be better. And we will continue to do so in the spirit of protecting this community and protecting this police department.
That is almost verbatim what I was going to ask you about. You have been so front and center this week. We just talked about one of the changes that you've made in response. There are so many calls for different elements of police reform that the Miami-Dade Police Department has already instituted even prior to 2, 3, 4 months ago. So my question to you is, when you see these protests of police departments and policing at large being painted with such a broad brush by people who are truly afraid and passionate about that, how do you address that?
I respect everybody's opinion, without a doubt. But I also know my police department and my profession. I know that the 99.9% of the men and women who serve this community serve with honor. They care about this community. In fact, most of them are young and are the children of this community. And what the audience I really want to reach is our children in the community. Because even my own youngest son will ask me every day when I get home, Daddy, why do they hate the police? Daddy, why is this happening? You know, it hits home to all our children. And that I will not stand for that. I want to bring peace and unity to this community. I want our officers to know that the work that they do out there is not done in vain. And I want the community to know that our officers love them and are here to provide the service and will take a bullet for them, just like we would take a bullet for ourselves.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, I admired it this week when you and many other police officers went to the 10,000 Role Models of Excellence luncheon. You spoke to those outstanding young men there. That shows, I think, where your heart is. Well, let me ask you this question, if I can, Director. On Tuesday, before the Miami-Dade County Commission, as you well know, Commissioner Barbara Jordan and other commissioners are going to introduce a ordinance that would create or recreate a oversight panel for Miami-Dade County Police. Do you support that?
That's a great topic. First of all, I looked at our internal affairs complaints last year. We had 104 IA complaints, of which 72 came back with sustained findings, in which we exercised different levels of discipline or corrective action. However, we hold ourselves accountable, and there's plenty of governmental institutions that do it. But if it's the will of the community, the will of the board to impose a civilian review panel, what I ask is that it's fair and representative of not only the community, but members of law enforcement, because I do not want my officers to be put in a gotcha moment or to be exploited. I want, when they make a mistake, that it's able to be corrected and that they're not persecuted. And if they create a mistake that is egregious, then we'll deal with it, because I will not hide behind Bill of Rights or things like that, which I think are very important for law enforcement. The decision ends with me at the top of the agency. And I'll enact discipline based on the policy and based on the factors in front of me. And if I have to fire someone and it meets that criteria, I will, and we have.
Director Ramirez, this is just the beginning of a conversation that we hope will be ongoing with you. Really appreciate your time on this Sunday.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you. Have a good day.